welcome to this 5-minute presentation making the case for mass timber tall building in a carbon zero framework. My name is Azadeen Ujahan and I'm speaking to you from SAIT, Southern Alberta Institute of Technology, where I teach in the School of Construction and Construction Project Management program. Our program is devoted to construction in general training, hands-on application of construction in general, and that of mass timber construction as well. In the picture in the background, you have a building on our campus at SAIT. For those of you who are not familiar, SAIT, Southern Alberta Institute of Technology, is located in Calgary, Alberta, east of the Rocky Mountains in Canada, as you can see in the map. Another highlight building on campus, the Trade and Technology Center as well, where you can see showcasing here beautiful columns and purlin beams for the roof in this beautiful atrium. So to make the case in 5 minutes, I thought we'd go over 4 key questions highlighting primarily the trends in wood construction, zero carbon building framework, and lastly talk about our case in a project making the case for a 10-story CLT building in Calgary in Alberta. So what are types of wood construction? Generally, we recognize 3 types, that of light wood frame, post and beam, and finally mass timber, which is the most recent construction method that has been occurring over the last couple of years, particularly with demand and growth of cross-laminated timber CLT. In mass timber, the systems are using CLT panels as floors and walls primarily. So what are the trends in construction and wood construction? In January 2021, the International Building Code will implement allowance for up to 18-story wood construction, as you can see in the slides here. 3 types of building, different allowance in heights and total number of floors. As again, 18-story would be the maximum allowed for wood construction. And similarly in Canada, Alberta, British Columbia have already made allowances to build up to 12-story using wood before the upcoming NBC 2020, which will come into effect and published in 2021. There's also the race for taller buildings in wood. Over this past 6 years, 44 tall buildings have been designed and erected using wood construction. From a zero carbon building framework, what does it mean? Well, the CAGBC Canada Green Building Council has introduced a framework emphasizing high energy building, but also zero emissions, given that 40% of the total GHGs around the globe are the result of building and operation of building. So an opportunity to advocate and encourage zero carbon building and building better towards the framework of 2030, 2050 zero carbon emissions around the globe. So in short, net emissions are calculated using the embodied carbon through the manufacturing and the life cycle of the material, and here a big emphasis on the material itself and the embodied carbon, but also accounting for operational carbon emitted to lighting, heating, cooling, and basically the functions and operation of the building throughout its life cycle. However, we can, through the net emissions, deduct any avoided emissions through either solar, wind power, other farming of or carbon off trade from different green resources, in short. So that's in short, the zero carbon building framework, encouraging and advocating for green building. So why are we building taller with wood? Just to make the case of this project, from a construction project management perspective, and when we started this project, in short, I could summarize it in 3 key words. Sustainability, as mentioned, through the zero carbon building, constructability, and life cycle. But constructability is probably one of the other key benefits of mass timber buildings with shorter construction duration, cleaner construction site, but also the integration of collaboration through prefab. All of this enabling construction project to be more effective and more efficient, and thereby increasing productivity of construction. So about 3 years ago, and thanks to Applied Research Industry Services, we received funding to look at the case for 10-story mass timber building in Calgary in Alberta. So in short, we had a construction project management perspective since undergrad students from the program have worked with me. And we looked at different project delivery, but primarily focusing on two key materials, concrete and CLT. At that time in 2017, we were inspired by the 18-story tall buildings in the world, which is WBC, the Brock Commons building. We used primarily a CLT. CLT, for those of you unfamiliar, is cross-lamination of lumber into making large-sized panels that could be used as floors or walls. Right, the size was limited by the manufacturing. So for our project, we designed a 3D model of a 10-story building, and so the component superstructure were concrete and CLT, using Revit to primarily do all our estimates for takeoffs and energy efficiency. So key takeaways: cost analysis. So we looked at the cost of the buildings and construction. CLT turned out to be cheaper, about 5 to 10% cheaper than the building in concrete. Also did a heat analysis of the material, the volume, based on volumetric measurement of the total mass. Concrete build, heating build was much higher, 50 to 60% more. And lastly, we performed using the 3D model and energy use efficiency intensity performance for the buildings, which had similar results, with a concrete building performing slightly better than that of CLT. And lastly, from an environmental impact, the key takeaway is the avoidance of gas emissions. So building the 10-story CLT would result in avoiding 350 metric tons of CO2, which equates to about taking off the roads 200 to 300 cars per year. And lastly, looking at some other environmental facts. If we were to build this 10-story out of CLT fully, for 43,000 square feet, about 4,000 square meters, we would need about 400 trees out of a 2.1 acre of wood forest. Lastly, I'd like to acknowledge Applied Research Industry Services for the funding, and several students who worked with me, several undergrad from construction project management who worked with me over the past 2 or 3 years. And lastly, inform you that SAIT is a partner with 4 European colleges and universities on a NOVAT project addressing sustainable design and construction of mass timber. Thank you for attending. If you want to reach out, here's my email. Thank you. Bye.